Larissa Benson, having grappled with great financial strain for the past year, reluctantly moved back into her childhood home. Her mother, a comforting presence in these turbulent times, opened the door without hesitation. They had always maintained a strong relationship and were more than happy spending time together. However, Larissa was soon reminded of her mother's troubling propensity to sleepwalk. Countless nights from Larissa's past resurfaced in her memory, each one a chilling replay of her mother's nocturnal wanderings. The dark corridors had seemingly transformed her mom into a spectral figure, drifting from room to room in her nightgown, long dark hair hanging over her face. The one steadfast rule in this eerie nightly ritual was clear: don't wake me. The fear that stirred in Larissa's gut stemmed not just from her mother's ghostly presence, but from the chance of inadvertently provoking a potentially harmful reaction. There were moments when Larissa, walking on a tightrope of caution, attempted to gently guide her back to the safety of her bed, navigating the darkness with careful steps to avoid any unintended consequences. Having returned home, Larissa braced herself for the resurgence of those episodes. Despite the impending challenge, her mother's generosity provided a silver lining. Graciously, her mom not only welcomed Larissa back, but extended a helping hand in easing the burden of bills. It was a gesture that softened the edges of discomfort, creating a precarious balance between her fears of the past and her happiness to spend time with her mom. Tired from helping with the move, Larissa's mother decided to retire early to her bedroom. Larissa, tethered to the kitchen table by the weight of financial calculations, toiled in solitude. As the hours slid away, a hush enveloped the house, and for a while, the only sound was the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the living room. Then, in the stillness, a faint rustle of movement echoed from down the hall, signaling the potential onset of one of her mother's sleepwalking episodes. Familiar with the routine, Larissa acknowledged the subtle disturbance, but chose to let the shadows play their course for the time being, engrossed in the task at hand. A while later, a flicker of movement caught Larissa's attention, drawing her gaze down the hall. In the dimness, she discerned the silhouette of her mother's nightgown, drifting through the dark into the bathroom. A thought nagged at her. Would her mom navigate to the bathroom in complete darkness? Suspended in uncertainty, Larissa waited. A minute passed, but the anticipated switch of the light never happened. No flush of the toilet, no water running. As Larissa rose to investigate, her mother emerged silently from the bathroom, long, dark hair veiling her face like a spectral curtain. The ghostly figure moved across the hall and vanished into the sewing room. A familiar shiver crawled up Larissa's spine. Cautiously, Larissa stepped into the hall, eyes peeled for any sign of her mother. The ticking of the clock remained the only sound. As a child, she had learned where not to step to avoid the creaking of floorboards, and she was amazed at how quickly it all came back to her. Peeking into the room her mom had entered, she found it partially bathed in moonlight, but the far corners were shrouded in impenetrable darkness. The uncertainty played tricks on her perception. Unwilling to disturb her mother by flipping on the lights, Larissa ventured a few steps into the room. Slowly, her eyes began to adjust, which revealed her mother standing in the darkest corner near the sewing machine. Gently swaying in the obscurity, her mom's ghostly demeanor was more frightening than ever. Larissa approached cautiously, placing a reassuring hand on her mother's back. With careful guidance, she steered her out of the ominous sewing room, down the hall, and safely back into the familiarity of her bedroom, meticulously planning each step before taking it. As they entered, Larissa noticed a distinct chill and saw that one of the bedroom windows was open, its curtains softly blowing in the breeze. As cold as it was outside, it made no sense for the window to be open, and Larissa decided right away that her mom must have opened it in her sleep. Reaching the bed at last, Larissa instinctively pulled back the covers, her hand brushing over something wet. Standing there in the dark, her eyes further adjusting, she was able to make out the shape of a figure lying in her mom's bed, dark, wet stains marring the sheets. A sudden, icy grip of terror seized her as she fumbled for the lamp on the nightstand, clicking it on. There, in the bed, wide-eyed and covered in blood, lay her mother. A gasp escaped Larissa's lips, and shock overtook her as she shifted her gaze to the person standing beside her, the one she believed to be her mom all this time. Clad in her mother's nightgown, with hair obscuring their face, the figure lifted its head. What met Larissa's horrified gaze was a man's face, staring hatefully from behind the dark curtain of hair, followed by a quick glint of steel in his hand. Larissa never even had time to scream.